So the next topic in our classes, we're going through the To Be a Jew book. We're going through it. So this is the next topic. We do have some holidays that we haven't covered yet, but because we cover the holidays right before the holiday or during the holiday, I didn't want to do them right now since we do it anyways right before the holiday. Okay. So this lesson is called Becoming B'nei Mitzvah. So what does B'nei Mitzvah mean? Children, as the plural form. B'nei Mitzvah means children of the commandment. And so what does B'nei Avraham mean? Children of Abraham, right? So this is our approach to the becoming B'nei Mitzvah. It's a Messianic Jewish journey into covenant, calling, and community. And so, of course, this is it's based on the To Be a Jew book, but also with our own perspective. Okay. So, hold on. Do you see that slide? Who knows what Bar Mitzvah means? What does the word Bar Mitzvah mean? Son of the commandment. Is that the normal word for son?
Hebrew.
Now, what's the normal Hebrew word for son? Ben, right. So why do we say bar? What language do you think it is? It's what did you say? It's Aramaic. So Aramaic was the what's it called? Is it called lingua fresca? Or I don't know what it's called, like the common tongue of the day.
English is
Aramaic was the common language of the day back in that day. The Talmudic era. Yeah, it includes that time. Yeah. So Aramaic was the language that was more commonly spoken. And so that's where the word bar comes from. Also, Adon, that's Hebrew for Lord, right? Adon. But in Aramaic, the Hebrew word is mar. So I have a friend who says Mar Yeshua instead of Adon Yeshua. He calls him Mar Yeshua. And it also means Mr., or something like that. All right. So, and then Bat is Hebrew, and it means daughter. And so the term Bar Mitzvah, what does mitzvah mean? Commandment, right? So it reflects the term Bar Mitzvah reflects the Babylonian Jewish exile when Aramaic was a spoken language of the Jewish people. So if it was back if we're the ones that that the ceremony started with or became popularized with, we would call it probably just child of the commandment or children of the commandment, right?
So Bat was like a
Bat is Hebrew.
Later on, right? Because they didn't really do Bat Mitzvahs back in that time.
Well, some Aramaic words are the same as Hebrew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So mitzvah means commandment, right? How about mitzvah? How do you say commandments plural? Mitzvah, right? That means it's feminine because we say ot at the end, okay? All right. So the becoming a B'nei Mitzvah is a spiritual coming of age and an affirmation of calling. There's a passage in Pirkei Avot 5:21 that says, he used to say, at 5 years of age, the study of scripture, at 10, the study of Mishnah, at 13, for the commandments, at 15, for the study of Talmud, at 18, for marriage, at 20, to pursue a livelihood or military service, at 30, full strength, at 40, understanding, at 50, counsel, at 60, seniority, at 70, gray hair, at 80, strength. Interesting, you don't think of 80 years old as being your strongest time, right? But I think it says this because this is a significant age for Moshe. At 90, stooping, your hunchback. At 100, it is as if he were dead and gone, removed from the world, because it's saying you've lost your strength and probably your mind by then. Maybe dementia set in. So Yeshua modeled this transition at age 12. And the Brit Hadashah talks about in Luke 2:42-49 that he was found in the temple discussing Torah. And so when we engage in this Bat Mitzvah ceremony, we are affirming our place in the people of Israel as followers of Yeshua in saying, here is the perseverance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Yeshua. We're saying, Hineni, here I am. I'm one of these people who will be counted. So a mitzvah is more than a commandment. We also translate it as a good deed. That's not the actual meaning, but it's become known as also that. In Deuteronomy 11:22, it emphasizes that the mitzvot are not just rules, but they are the way that we can cleave to God. So how do we cleave to God? By keeping his commandments. And the passage says, for if you will diligently keep all these commandments, which I command you, to love Adonai your God and to walk in all his ways and to cling to him. So the sages interpret keeping the commandments as how we cling to him. Okay? How do you cling to God? By keeping his commandments, by walking in his commandments. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 6 to 7 says, these words which I am commanding you today are to be on your heart. That means we should know them, right? We should memorize them. We should know them by heart. You are to teach them diligently to your children. So they should be internalized. We should know them by heart, which I certainly haven't memorized them all yet. So this is why we read the Torah every single year, because we're supposed to memorize this.
We do that for the Shema.
And we do it for the Shema twice a day. That's the first thing that we should memorize. But really, the whole Torah should be internalized and on our heart and transmitted in love, not legalism. And Psalm 119, verse 10, talks about how we should pursue God's presence and pursue God in a relational way, not just to, just do everything like kind of cold and mechanical, but with our hearts. It says in Psalm 119, with my whole heart I have sought you. Let me not wander from your mitzvot. If the commandments aren't in our heart, if we don't want to do them, if we don't find joy in keeping God's commandments, they will not stay with us. Okay? So we have to find joy in doing it. And when we keep God's commandments, we follow Yeshua's example. He said, and we read this every Shabbat during our Torah service, he said, do not think that I came to abolish the Torah or the prophets. Whoever keeps and teaches these commandments will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So Yeshua himself upholds Torah observance for his followers. And so why Christians who claim to follow him don't observe the commandments is really a mystery. And in 1 John chapter 2, verses 3 to 6, it says, we know that we have come to know him by this, if we keep his commandments. How do we know if we truly know God?
Keeping his commandments.
When we keep his commandments. If we're not keeping his commandments, do we truly know him? 1 John says no, right? We're not keeping his commandments. We don't truly know him. Because if we truly knew him, we would know what he wants. And what does he want? He wants us to walk in his ways. So the one who says he abides in him ought himself to walk just as he walked, as Yeshua walked. So following Yeshua and following God, knowing God, means that we should walk in his commandments. It's a great mitzvah also to always be joyful. We should not only keep the commandments, we should do it joyfully. That's what Rabbi Nachman says. And also Midrash Tanhuma, it says that God desires the heart. Our hearts should be in these commandments. In Deuteronomy 28:47, it says, because you do not serve Adonai your God with joy and gladness of heart, because we didn't follow his mitzvah with joy and gladness, there's punishment that comes. So it's very important that we find our joy in him. And joy can be conjured up. Joy is not merely an emotion, because as people of God, God commands us all throughout the Bible to be joyful, to be courageous, to eliminate sadness, to get rid of fear, etc. So we are supposed to master our emotions, okay? This includes joy. We must make ourselves find joy in the commandments. We must make ourselves be glad in heart on Shabbat, on the holidays, when we're doing the mitzvot. We should make ourselves, we are in control. We are made in the divine image. We have power over these things, okay? The level of the soul that our emotions lie is the level of ruach. So it says in the Bible, there's like a ruach of anger, a spirit of anger, spirit of fear, spirit of joy. This is a level of the soul, and this is not the level that should rule over us, okay? There's also the level of the nefesh. That's our physical bodies. That's what we need to take care of when we feed ourselves or when we exercise and things like that. And also this level of the soul, our nefesh, it should not rule over us. Okay. All right. Now let's go to the history of the Bat Mitzvah ceremony. Shabbat Shalom. Zoria, Los Zorias. Los Zorias. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the history of the Bat Mitzvah ceremony. The ceremony itself is not, there in the Bible, in the Talmud, there's no like formal ceremony, only a legal responsibility at age 12 or 13. And Baruch Levi once mentioned, is he online? Baruch Levi once mentioned that the Torah doesn't really mention this age. The Bible doesn't mention the age of 12 or 13. It's actually in the Brit Hadashah that we first hear about the age 12 as being significant for Yeshua. But I believe there's wisdom in this age of 12 and 13, that the sages didn't just make it up for no good reason, but it lines up with the age of puberty, for people around age 12 and 13. That's when children start puberty. It's when in psychology and psychiatry, it's understood that they are more responsible for their actions. It's not done in ignorance. And if you do something bad around age of 12 or 13, you're not doing it in ignorance anymore. You're doing it more knowingly, okay? You know you have a better understanding of what you're doing. You can't just be excused, as an ignorant child doing something. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in this age. In the medieval days, the ceremony is much more simpler. It just meant that you were called as an aliyah to the Torah for the first time on Shabbat for boys after turning 13. Now, Yemenite Jews have a different tradition. They actually, I think it's for the 7th aliyah or maftir haftarah, I'm not sure which one. One of the last aliyot, Temani, Yemenite Jews, they will call up a young under Bar Mitzvah age boy to read the last aliyah. And so sometimes we do that when, I don't know, we haven't done that in a very long time, but when we were even smaller and not even enough people online, we would do that. We would call under 13. But typically what's more normal is to call up age 13. And this evolved to eventually include a haftarah reading and a drash and a seudat mitzvah, which means seudat mitzvah is a meal to celebrate the bar mitzvah. Okay, now the modern bat mitzvah ceremony. So the bat mitzvah ceremony started in 1922, as far as we know, by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan with his daughter Judith Kaplan in the United States, and it developed to affirm a girl's spiritual maturity and public Torah participation. We do take part in this. The Talmud actually gives an okay to women reading from the Torah. However, it does give a caveat, and it says, it's okay. It basically says in the Talmud that it's okay for a woman to read from the Torah. However, it could be a disgrace to the congregation. And back in those days, it was a lot more male centric. And I do believe that there's ebbs and flows of time. Back in the days of the Torah, women had more prominence than they did in the days of the Talmud, because back in the days of the Torah and the judges, we had Devorah, the prophet, and even in the days of the Brit Hadashah, there were female prophets. And there's also Kabbalistic understanding that in the last days, in the Acharit Hayamim, that women will play a major part in leading Israel back to Teshuvah and to keeping the mitzvot. So I do believe that allowing women to read from the Torah aligns with this, with maybe not necessarily Talmudic times, but with Torah and also with prophecy. And so we do follow that. We're a Messianic and egalitarian congregation. So both men and women, boys and girls read from the Torah. And they can also, so we don't have women lead in prayers because, so our Breslov rabbi is okay with women reading from the Torah, but he's not okay with women leading, for example, the Amidah for men, because it is primarily a male obligation. Now, different congregations do different things. We're just saying what we do currently. And I don't know if we'll always do this, but this is just currently what we do, okay? Our Breslov rabbi said that he's fine with women reading from the Torah, but women should not be counted in the minyan because we're not obligated to many things. We're not obligated to do Amidah. It is a choice for us, or it is a choice for us to do Amidah. We're not held to the time. Now, this is Orthodox Judaism, okay? We're not held to time-bound commandments. Rambam says that a woman, I shared this with Ahava before, that the prayers that a woman is required to do is a personal prayer that should include admiration.
For husband?
No, for God. Admiration for God, not her husband. A prayer to God, for admiration to God.
In there too.
Thanksgiving to her husband.
Thanksgiving.
Thanking God for her husband and family and friends and community. And supplication and also confession, of course, if you have sinned. And we add, I don't remember Rambam mentioning this, but we also add Shema. We require both our girls and boys to do the Shema evening and morning. And so because we are not obligated to the Amidah, then we should not count in a minyan also. Okay. So that's what we do, and I don't judge other congregations that do anything else. I remember one of my friends, he was Orthodox. He said that one of the things that they use to prove a minyan, that the count of the minyan 10, is Avraham when he was pleading with God to not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And he first started by saying, what about if there's just 10, Not, he didn't start with that number, but he went down to that number, right? He said, what if there's just 10 righteous people and there weren't even 10, but the count was not only for men, but for men and women. But unfortunately, there wasn't even 10 men and women in that count. That's one of the midrashic reasons for the number 10. There's also the spies. Yeah, right. Lot and his family would have counted 10 plus the in-laws. They should have added up to 10. Exactly. That's why he stopped at 10. He was counting on Lot to have ensured that his family was righteous.
10 people.
But unfortunately, he wasn't strong enough to ensure that. It's very hard to be in a place of sin and ensure that kind of thing, which is why Jews probably shouldn't live in the heart of big cities where it's very sinful, right? Like, whatever, San Francisco, maybe. Tel Aviv even, Hollywood, yeah, sure. Okay, and then here's some traditions of the Bat Mitzvah ceremonies. There's the Aliyah to the Torah. Of course, that's the main one, really, being called up to recite the blessings of the Torah and to chant a portion from the Torah and the prophets, or at least one. You can do that. We do the Torah. I think my children do. Usually they do the Torah and the Haftarah, right?
Yeah.
You didn't do the Haftarah? Avichai and Ahava did, so sorry. Rafi, did you do the Haftarah? Did you do the Haftarah during your Bar Mitzvah? Not, yeah, just the first 3. Minimum is supposed to be 3 verses when you read from the Torah. Yeah, well, you should learn your Haftarah portion though for next time your Bar Mitzvah comes, and not the actual Bar Mitzvah, but the Torah portion, next time your Torah portion comes up. So people just do as much as they can, right? The last Bat Mitzvah we went to, she led almost the whole entire thing. The rabbi was there to help, but the Bat Mitzvah led almost the whole ceremony, and I think she added a few things that she wanted to do, a few songs and things. And also there's a drosh, a personal reflection or teaching on the portion. Oh, it was at the Colorado Bat Mitzvah I'm talking about. So there's also usually a drosh or a teaching, and there's also a blessing from the parents and the community, words of encouragement or prayer, and the father releases his what's it called, responsibility, his responsibility to his son. And they get to lead parts of the service. There's a Seudat Mitzvah, festive meal. And oftentimes there's a separate party. Usually though, especially if it's going to be catered and a DJ and stuff like that, that will happen after Shabbat, not during Shabbat. So oftentimes there's like this smaller celebration, and then there's like a bigger celebration at night or maybe even the next day. Also, what's common is a mitzvah project, which is a personal act of service or tzedakah to bless others. I think we did that for some of our children, but not all of them. Well, I don't do it for all of our children because you guys are serving all the time. You're serving in our community all the time. So I didn't feel like you needed a separate project to do that because you're always, making challah, helping prepare for Shabbat, cleaning up for Shabbat. You're constantly, because we are, running this congregation, my children, for people online, some of my children are complaining that they didn't get a special mitzvah project. I'm explaining to them it's because you guys are always serving. You're always doing acts of tzedakah. Also, a Bat Mitzvah, after a bar, usually just typically a Bar Mitzvah ceremony, is the first time that a boy will wear tefillin. And I also get my girls to wrap tefillin and pray with tefillin on at least once in their lives. Again, women are not obligated to wrap tefillin, but they're allowed. And I have heard some testimonies of Orthodox Jewish women saying that they were trying to pray for something for a while, and then they wrapped tefillin, started wrapping tefillin, and then they had breakthroughs in prayer. So I just like to keep that option open for women. I've never done it myself, but I think it's good to at least do it once. Maybe I'll do it next time. Tomorrow, my husband says. Okay. You haven't done it yet? Yeah. Well, Sheila just barely did it too. Okay. Now other special milestones in the Bible and Jewish tradition. Of course, 8 days for circumcision, Brit Milah. I didn't list every single thing here. Okay, these are just some of them. Forgive me if I didn't get all of them. Okay, 3 years old, Samuel begins service in the tabernacle. So this is the traditional age for the first haircut. 5 years of age to begin studying scripture according to Pirkei Avot, which we read earlier. Age 12 and 13 for Bat and Bar Mitzvah. And spiritual responsibility begins in fulfilling a full obligation to the Mitzvot. At 15 years of age, Pirkei Avot says, is a good age to begin Talmudic analytical study. And then 20 years of age, the Bible says, is the proper age for military service and being counted in a national census. That's from Numbers 1:3. At 25 years of age, Numbers 8:24 talks about how Levites would begin the temple service, apprenticeship. They would start learning. And then at 30 years of age, then they would begin full service and responsibility of the temple. At this age also, Yeshua and King David began public leadership. And then at 50 years of age, the Levites were to retire from labor and serve as mentors. And at 60 years, people were considered a senior or an elder in rabbinic tradition, based on Leviticus 27:7. And at 70 years of age, this represents a good biblical life expectancy. If you reach 70, it means you've reached fullness of life, and you're good. That doesn't necessarily mean that if you die younger than that, that you are evil, because many righteous men died young. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov died young. There are many people that died young, under 70, but it's a blessing to reach 70 for sure. At 80 years of age, Moshe began leadership, his leadership mission at 80. So that's a significant number as well. And there's more, of course. There's like 120, and that's supposed to be the maximum, amount that most people can live. And that's all. Anyone have any questions, comments, additions they'd like to say?
I thought it was interesting, between the 25 and 30 years old of the Levite, they get five years essentially of practice at getting everything, getting ready to do what the regular Levite priest, I guess more priests, right? Or is it all the Levites maybe? It says all the Levites.
Temple service.
But definitely the temple services, and so, just even like Shita, like you're studying and things like that, they got 5 years, at least 5 years of studying
Under someone?
under someone to learn how to do that. So if you feel like you're not learning it fast enough or something, like the Levites got 5 years to do it, so you should at least have 5 years to. And they only served for 20 years. So.
Then they became mentors.
No, then maybe they became the teachers of the younger ones, the 25-year-olds.
Well, that was sort of interesting.
Yeah. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
I've seen it other where even the adults.
They just won't hear you.
I've seen it other congregations where the adults, when they do conversion as well, they call it bar and bot class. Is that like a common thing?
Bar what?
Like bar and bot class? Is that also?
Yeah, you could do that.
I mean, usually when they do that, they're studying to do the ceremony, to go up to read for the first time and things like that. But you're a bar bat mitzvah if you're a Jew, whether you've prepared or not, right? It's not like after you've prepared, you become one. You are one. If you're Jewish and you are over 12 or 13 years old. I think that those classes for adults are mainly to
go up to do all that.
To have the ceremony, yeah.
But it's good. I mean, I've had a lot of friends that wanted to go to Aliyah, and so they studied about it, learned how to do it, and they go up and you still call it their bar bat mitzvah portion that they're doing. They usually do it during that time, like during their birthday time.
Yeah, I think it's very meaningful for especially for Jews who didn't grow up observant, and then they finally get a chance to do what they couldn't do when they were young. Rav Safa? Oh, that's okay. You don't have to. All right. Okay. No more comments, questions, suggestions, complaints? All right, good.
Good evening, everybody.
When I said complaint, she chimed in.
No, come on now. Not what y'all told y'all the sweetest people on earth. So no. I was asking, this is in reference to the boot camp. So what time is it going to start on Monday?
Is it Monday?